Hey guys, what is up? It is Skullflag44 here, bringing you another Hawk Ramblings video. This time, it is the Seahawks bye week, and so I'm not focusing on a specific game, but more of the playoff scenario in general. And so that's the sort of thing I'm going to be talking about today, and should be pretty good because there's lots of exciting stuff, and the Seahawks are in a good position to do some exciting things, which is going to be pretty fun for us to watch, I guess, if you're a Seahawks fan. I was debating whether to say me to watch or us to watch, but if you're finding this, you're probably a Seahawks fan, or maybe you found it just for looking for NFL playoff stuff or whatever, but I'll try to include all sorts of different stuff in this video. So I'm just going to try to pull up my notes. For some reason, when I'm using iMovie, it causes my computer just to, like, I guess because I'm just like, I have 0 RAM left. I've got using so much, but I don't understand why it's taking up so much. I don't know, maybe I just need to optimize it or something, but anyway, so here are my notes for this. So I want to talk about the ESPN playoff machine they have, and so I'll try to include a link in the description, or if I forget that, what you have to do is you go to the NFL section on ESPN.com, click on standings, click on the playoff standings, and then up on the upper right there'll be a little ESPN playoff machine thing that you can use, and that's pretty great because what it does is you're able to select, how you want teams to win, so you can do it off win percentage, and so a team with a higher win percentage will by default win the game, or power rankings, or home team, or however you want to do it. You can try all of them and see, okay, let's say if my team, like the Seahawks, if they win all their road games, what is that going to happen? If everyone wins all their road games, if everyone wins all their home games, if all the teams that are expected to beat, each other, if they win or whatever. Unfortunately, I would like if they had a DVOA, because I prefer that as a power rankings, because I think that's a better true statistic, and especially, win percentage is good, but win percentage and power rankings are, because they use the ESPN power rankings, and so they're not that different, so I just have more variety. I prefer to use the DVOA rankings, but that's not possible yet, although ESPN is linked with Football Outsiders now, which is pretty nice, I'm pretty happy about, because Football Outsiders to me is more of a, in-depth look at the league and the NFL in general, and, ESPN is more general look at everything, because they've got to try to make everyone happy and all that sort of stuff. And so I'm pretty happy that they are able to go in-depth with the Football Outsiders, and I think that's pretty cool that they're starting to do some combo articles there. So I've been messing around with that, trying to see what happens what happens with this, what happens with that, and I don't know. So I think that's a pretty cool deal. So I'm going to kind of go through the things I've found out for the Seahawks need to do, what they need to do to clinch the division, possibly the 1 seed. So the big thing is, this is one I just kind of realized this week. Okay, what happens with this? If they win the next 3 games, they're going to get the 1 seed. If they can win the next 3 games, it does not matter what any other team does. With those 3 wins, they would set up any tiebreakers, and they would beat the Saints, which is the big threat for the 1 seed, and then they would the 49ers and Cardinals are the other potential threats for the division. And I guess maybe it's the Rams aren't out of it maybe for the division, but I think they probably are if everything. I don't know. Pretty much are. The Seahawks just need to win 1 game before they're eliminated, since the Rams are 4-6. But if the Seahawks win 3 more games, they'd be at 13-3 in the worst case scenario. And that's, after those 3 games, they have 2 home games, so that's shouldn't be a problem anyway. And so that's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Then, it'd be pretty crazy if you with 2 weeks left in the season, you already know you have the 1 seed. It'd be interesting to see how they handle that situation, especially with 2 home games in the end, because then you have the extra bye week. So you'd almost be 3 weeks off until you have a real meaningful game, because you have the bye week and the 2 games don't matter. So that's, I don't know, at that point you're almost kind of whoa, that's kind of scary almost. Kind of the bye week, you want the bye week, but it is almost kind of what's going to happen in that situation leaves a lot of variables up. But obviously, it's better than not having it clinched. So it's not like you can say no. It's just you're able to find more faults with it as you go on. So 3 straight wins, nice and easy. That'd be fantastic. They need a win against the New Orleans. They need a win against San Francisco and a win against New York, and they'd have it locked up. And it would be kind of nice because they could lock it up in New York, and then that's where they would be presumably going back to the Super Bowl if they were to make it so far. So that's kind of cool situation there. And if they beat New Orleans, they just need 2 more wins in general. So they could, it doesn't matter where those 2 wins come. Like they could, if they beat New Orleans, they could get those 2 wins, against New York and Arizona, or New York and St. Louis, or any combination of those last 4 games. And the other thing is, if they win the rest of their home games, which has been a true thing since before last week, they just win the rest of their home games, and they'll have the division locked up. So it's really coming down to this New Orleans game being the big deal, because if New Orleans wins, they'll have control of the 1 seed, because they'll have the tiebreaker over the Seahawks and have the same record as the Seahawks. And so that's why this New Orleans game is so important, and the other games don't matter as much. They just kind of make things better. But in the end, it's like, okay, the Seahawks, it'd be really hard for them to not win the division, because all they need to do to win the division is beat Arizona at home and then St. Louis at home, and they'll have the division locked up. And so now it's just kind of like, all right, how good can we get the situation to be? And from what I've messed around with, if I was trying to see, okay, how quickly can the Seahawks clinch the division? If both St. Louis and I'm still trying to mess around with to see, okay, if both San Francisco and Arizona will lose their next 2 games, could the Seahawks have it clinched before they play again? So I still got to mess around with that a bit to see how that's going to work, because it doesn't, I don't know, it just kind of takes a while for it to link up, and you've got all these other games going on that impact it too, so you can't just edit one thing, or you can, but you have to have some general thing in there anyway. So I'll continue to mess around with it, and I'm sure maybe I'll do a video before the next game or after the Saints game, and I'll try to include that in there depending on what's going on. Or, if the Seahawks do get to a situation where they've clinched before they play, then I will definitely let you guys know. But yeah, because I don't think they'd be able to clinch before they play, but I think they could potentially clinch with a win against New Orleans, because that would put them at 11-1, and then if both San Francisco and Arizona lose their next 2 games, they'd be at 6-6 each, and they couldn't. The best they could do is 10-6, and the worst the Seahawks could do is 11-5. So that is a possibility, and that's what I'm going to be rooting for. The chances of that happening are slim to none. I guess there's a couple good things going for it, at least for this week. The Cardinals play the Colts, which is going to be a tough game, and then the 49ers play the Redskins, then the 49ers should be able to take out the Redskins, but it's going to be Monday night, which to me that always favors the underdog, because Monday night just sets it up where it's like anything can happen, while usually this game would kind of just get swept under the rug and go to the team expected to win. And maybe, I don't know, Washington's having some troubles with their locker room situation and they're really struggling. Maybe they're able to come out and show that they shouldn't be forgotten completely and can make something happen next year or something like that. And so let's see. Oh, here's something I found. So if the Seahawks win against New Orleans, and then if the Cardinals and 49ers lose this week, and then, which is possible, and then the Seahawks win against New Orleans, they'd need the Cardinals to beat the 49ers in Week 17 to clinch the division. And so while that doesn't necessarily, that's not like an easy clinch, that means like, okay, it's a pretty good chance. Like the Cardinals and 49ers losing would help the Seahawks a lot in clinching the division earlier. And then if the Seahawks just win their next 2 games, I think they clinch too, is what I found out according to my notes here. So a lot of good scenarios happening right now. Seahawks are in a really good spot. As far as the NFL in general, it's looking like, if you just plug in, okay, power rankings or win percentage, it looks like the Bears make it, it looks like the Panthers make it, and the 49ers are left out of it. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Obviously, not all those teams are going to win. It won't play out exactly like that, but it could be some combination of that, and so that's going to be pretty interesting to watch. I think it comes out to like the Bears and Lions both at 12-4, which is kind of interesting. But I think that's dependent on whether Aaron Rodgers come back, because I think the Packers won't make the playoffs, but Aaron Rodgers definitely makes the Packers better, which is going to make other teams worse if they beat them and all that stuff. And then the Jets are looking like they can make the playoffs, but I don't know. The Jets are just so weird. Like they'll be really good one week, really bad in the next week, and just too unpredictable. And they might have done enough to save Rex Ryan's job, but I don't know. They're just too crazy to make anything to have a sustained run in the playoffs. Like they might be able to win their first game in the playoffs if they can get there, but then they're not a real threat, to win the AFC or anything. I don't think. But who knows? When you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. And I don't know. I was thinking about, at this point in the season, you got to just appreciate each game, because it's tough, because especially when you have a team like the Seahawks, who are winning percentage-wise the best team in the NFL. And I think they are the best team in the NFL. I think they could take anyone and beat anyone. And if they had to, go up against anyone, I don't think they'd, I think they could beat anyone if they, the Broncos are the best team in the AFC, and I think the Seahawks are the best team in the NFC, and I think the Seahawks could beat the Broncos and all that stuff. And I think should be able to take care of the Saints next week, and it's kind of unfortunate that it's such a long time until that game. Like, man, I was like, oh, bye week will be nice, but now it's like, oh, it's Saturday. Would be really nice to have a game to watch tomorrow, but it is what it is. It'll be fun watching NFL Red Zone and seeing the other teams play and rooting for other teams to lose and all that stuff. Because at this point in the season, you can start rooting for other teams to lose, and you can start to see, okay, what matters. Because early in the season, it's like you can root for a team to lose, but then the team that wins that week can become the team you want to lose next week, and so it's just kind of pointless to root for against any team. And that's the other thing. Like, sometimes I'll be rooting against teams, and it's like I'll be disappointed. Like I was rooting kind of for the Panthers, and I'll be like, I really shouldn't have rooted for the Panthers, because they're a threat to the Seahawks. Like, while the Seahawks own the tiebreaker over them, and it would be tough for the Panthers to be higher up than the Seahawks. Like, the Seahawks would have to definitely stumble. It's possible. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. But then it's like, well, it's not like I controlled anything by rooting for the other team or anything like that. So I don't know. One of those silly little things. But I think especially watching the Saints play the Falcons, and that was a primetime game, so according to my rule, you can't count those as much because they favor the underdog, and it kind of played out how I expected to play out. I expected Atlanta to hang in there because this was pretty much all they had for the rest of the season, and they needed to show something, and they did show something. I mean, they looked better, but they're still not a good team, and it's pretty crazy how quickly they've fallen, like just to be not much at all, and how quickly the Saints have returned, and how quickly the Panthers have risen. That whole division has just been turned upside down. And the Buccaneers have started 0-8, but actually look pretty good. I mean, they just destroyed the Falcons, and they play the Seahawks really well. I think they're a solid team, and definitely an average team at worst. I think they're better than their record shows. But yeah, it's gonna be really fun to watch. I'm really excited. Just gotta remember to enjoy each and every game, because it's hard not to look ahead to the playoffs. But then when the playoffs get here, and it's really stressful. It's like, man, you lose and you go home. Like the whole season could be done. So you just gotta take it game by game, enjoy it. One game at a time. Go 1-0 every week. Separations in the preparation. All that sort of good stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video talking about playoffs. Playoffs? The old Jim Mora stuff. I can see if I do peas, it'll pop a bit. I don't have a pop filter for this, so I'm just going to watch them at this point. Alright, I think this video is done. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time.